Have you ever just looked at your life and been like, damn, how did I get here? How do I feel so far from where I want to be? How do I feel so stuck more than I don't? This is a journey I personally understand and have experienced many times over. I wanted to talk to you in the comfort of my bedroom and just bring in a human-to-human connection on this, because this is real stuff here. This is like life work right here. And if we don't get real and really dive in, we're never going to fix this. So welcome. In this video, I'm going to be giving you my 6-step process that I personally have used to redesign my life and get myself out of feeling stuck, out of feeling lost. I have helped hundreds of people with this, and I know it can help you too if you take it in, if you listen, if you take notes, and if you implement the things I'm about to give you today. If you clicked on this video, it's a good thing. You're in exactly the place you should be to create real change in your life. You're sick and tired of being sick and tired of where you're at. You've had enough. And so now we can really only go up. A question I get a lot is, why do we have to experience a breakdown and a crisis before we can have the reality that we want? I don't think that we have to experience a crisis or a breakdown in order to have the true life that we want. But the truth is, look at the way that our society is programmed. Essentially at 18, we're told to pick our life path. We're supposed to kind of know what we want to do for the rest of our lives at 18 and start moving towards that, whether it's through trade school, college, just getting a job. But there are a lot of studies out there that are showing that 50%, if not more, of college grads are not doing what they studied in college. So what you have happening is in your late 20s, maybe your mid 20s, early 30s, you have people scrambling to try to figure out a more fulfilling path. They realize that money no longer is the key motivator. I really think we're seeing an epidemic right now of people hitting burnout and not knowing what to do and feeling stuck where they are because they started climbing a ladder that they realized they don't want to climb, because they never started asking themselves the question, what do I want? In an ideal world, what would my life look like? They let something else, somebody else outside of them design it for them. So the idea of designing your life really is about getting your own power back. It's about putting yourself in the driver's seat and realizing that you actually do get a choice in what your life looks like. So here is my 6-step process that is going to help guide you in the direction that you more want to go. Step number 1, acceptance. Just say, okay, I accept that where I'm at is not where I want to be. And that is okay. That doesn't define me. That doesn't say anything or mean anything about me. It just means all the choices up to this point have gotten me here. So that kind of sucks. But the cool part about that is I was the one that got me here. So I can get myself out of it and where I want to be. And the only way that we really feel that sense of empowerment with that is when we own where we are. So first, just take a moment to say, okay, I love myself and I accept myself here in this reality. And I am committed to shifting out of this. And I'm committed to shifting and changing into something more aligned, more me. And I'm dedicated to gradually figuring out this next path for myself. Becoming your bestie is going to be another secret thing. That's like a secret tip that I'm not really adding in as the process, but becoming your own bestie is a game changer. That's secretly a byproduct of what's going to happen when you do this work. Just heads up. Number 2, begin to ask the bigger, deeper questions. Questions like, in an ideal world, what would I want my life to look like? On an ideal day, what would I be spending my time doing? Who would I be hanging out with? What would I get paid to do? Where would I want to live? What do I want my ins and outs to look like? These sound really simple, but if you've never done this before and you start to write down and answer these questions, there's going to be moments of, I don't even know how I would do that. How would I create that? Am I allowed to have that? And there's going to be some second guessing going on. This is where some of the fear and the undesirable emotions are going to pop up, because everything that has been in your way of getting to where you want to be up until this point is going to start rising to the surface because it wants to be cleared out. It's rising up to come out. So when you can understand that, it's a good thing. So you don't have to be afraid of those emotions, but it's important to understand that is what's going to happen, which makes this assignment a bit harder to do than meets the eye. There are so many deep, important questions you can ask yourself. And if you struggle with this, if you need some help, I do have a free downloadable workbook in the description of this video. So be sure to check that out if that feels aligned for you. Be sure to not skip this step, because this is the most crucial one. It's going to start opening up your reality to realize that there's a bigger picture for your life. There is so much more for you than the current reality you're living in. You realize that everything up until this point was more of a distraction, that the world was pulling you more of where it wanted you to go versus you actually using your own mind and thinking for your own self on where you want to be and having the power of decision and free will and making actual choices that are of your higher self. This is where you're going to want to spend the most time. So I recommend getting like maybe a sacred journal or something that feels a little special for this process. It doesn't have to be rushed. And it's important to know you don't need to solve all of this in a day. This is meant to be a gradual process. We just really want to get the wheels turning for you so you can start creating all of this new reality. Step 3, reflect. So I always recommend this step come after any deep introspection work, because otherwise we're missing some of the golden nuggets. You didn't take any time to acknowledge what you just brought to the surface, this new reality that you get to normalize now. There was no connection with it. It was more just an assignment. And when we have a deep, compelling connection to something, that's usually when we're willing to make moves and to shift. So in reflection, I always like to tell people to ask themselves, what did I learn? How do I feel? Is there anything weird coming up for me around thinking bigger and creating a bigger reality for myself? Did you learn anything new? Did you realize that there's things that you actually want that you didn't admit to yourself before? So many people don't want to do this work because it feels like work. But I always tell people that this is the slow down to speed up that you hear oftentimes in personal development. It's the let me take a second to regroup and tune into myself and connect and say, okay, what do I even want? So that you can redirect your compass so that you know what you're moving towards. The pattern I notice is that people who really do have a grip on their life and they feel like they've got clarity, they know where they're going, oftentimes it's because they have gone down these journeys. I don't know a single person who's crushing it in life and who's a thought leader that we all respect that has not done this regrouping, reflection, clarity designing work for themselves. They know where they're going because they've planned it out, because they've had so many contrasting experiences that they stop to reflect and they realize, oh my gosh, that's not serving me. I don't want to experience that anymore. How am I going to forever do this different? And then they started moving different. My friend, you're no different than those people who we already see as successful and crushing it and have the life that they want. They've just done this work. And even if you've done some of this work before, dive into it again, because self-mastery is really mastery of the foundational basics. It is not the continuous adding on of new information half applied. Okay, step number 4, it's important to understand that you're not just getting rid of stuff and then that's it. Every time we release and we let go, we are just making room for something more aligned, for something better. The release isn't just like a black hole, it's an exchange. It's an exchange for something better. But since we're in the Design Your Life video, we also want to get really clear on, okay, well, if I'm getting rid of stuff, what do I want to replace it with? If I'm letting go of all these maybe friendships, for example, well, what kind of friends am I going to call in instead? They might not show up in that instant, but if you get clear and you write out, this is the friendships that I'm available for, then they can show up more easily because you're going to be looking for that. You're going to have a new awareness of what you want. And this doesn't have to be stressful. This doesn't have to be all done in a day. Just have fun with it. It doesn't have to be more than just we're leading with our curiosity here, because when you do that, it's less pressuring and it allows you to really get at the heart of what do I want? So if any part of you at any point in this process feels stressed, just back off, take a breath, relax, and realize this is just supposed to be fun. I'm designing here. There's an exercise that Dr. Joe Dispenza has in his progressive and intensive workshops. And if you've never done it, this could be a really great time to incorporate it. So what he does, he tells people to fill the gap, essentially decide what you're replacing, what you're letting go with very detailed clarity. So he'll say, let's say, for example, you are wanting to replace your old job with a new job. He would say on a piece of paper, write the letter J, stands for job. In a dream world, what does my ideal job look like? You just write out, what are the things that I absolutely need in this job to be happy? What kind of pay do I want? What kind of things do I want to do? How do I want this job to come into my world? How many days a week do I want to work? How many hours remote? What kind of building would I want to work in if I want to work at an office? You get the point. From there, he says, now we know what J stands for. How does J make you feel? And you start writing out all the emotions you know you're going to experience when that thing comes to fruition in your life. Every time moving forward that you see the letter J, you know that that letter in your mind is going to connect to job. And when you see J for job, you know what that means to you. And then you also know how J for job makes you feel. So anytime you see the letter J, you train yourself to visually think of that job, but also feel that job being in your life. And you just hold with this knowing and this certainty that it's yours. And that is the type of clarity that we want as we move in this process of designing our life. You've got to program it in. And that's why I tell people this stuff can take a little bit of time. It has to become normalized in your system. And so that's where step number 5 comes in. Integration. This is the step that so many people miss. I think this is the secret sauce that nobody's talking about enough. One of the reasons why people can't seem to bring in the things that they want is because they are extremely impatient in the process, and they're thinking, okay, I designed it, I got clear on what I wanted, show up. But the thing is, the 3D reality is slow. It needs time to catch up to you. There is some patience that is required. And when you are impatient, you slow the process down. In this book that I'm rereading for like the 5th time, Happy Pocket Full of Money, which I highly recommend, I'll put the link in the description below. There's a quote in here that talks about patience in the process of manifesting. This quote says, "Have patience with the unfolding of things. If you rush or force them, you interfere with them and slow them down. Nature is perfect. If you wish for faster results, the right way to shorten time is to raise your certainty. Increase the clarity of your imagination. Be of one mind. Do not keep changing your mind. If you perfect awareness, imagination, faith, certainty, and clarity, you can create results instantly." I really believe what that book is saying is once you take a second to get clear on what you want, if you can pause and really connect with that being true in your body and not trying to rush it, but sit in it enough to get this knowing about it, is going to bring your desire to reality much faster because you are not adding speed bumps and resistance along the way. You're letting it flow. Everything that we desire is just energy. And every time we worry, we add a block. We add an obstruction for the energy to have to move around instead of being able to just seamlessly go where it was planning on going. So allow for that integration, aka a pause between clarity and taking action. It doesn't have to mean wait a month, wait 2 months, wait a year before you take action. Sometimes, yeah, the integration is going to be a week long. Sometimes it's going to be a couple days, but it's rarely forever away before you can take action. It's just, let's take a moment, maybe a day or two, to get comfortable with this new identity, this new reality that you're calling in, because you want to be able to come from a higher vibrational place. You don't want to move in this chaotic energy of, oh my gosh, okay, now I've got to create, I know what I want, I finally have the pieces, now I got to go, because you're only going to attract more of that chaotic energy in the process. We want to be as neutral and calm as we can as we move. And that is what integration allows. Which leads me to step number 6, actually taking action. Which is funny because I know I just was talking about not taking action and taking a pause, whatever, but once you take the pause and you feel good about it, what do? You take a step. And now the secret about this, I've been learning in this journey, is that it doesn't matter the step you actually take, which sounds really counterintuitive. What matters in this process of designing the life that you want is progression, is commitment to showing up day by day. The journey is going to unfold clearer and clearer and clearer. So you don't have to worry more than just the one right next step in front of you, whatever that is. And the cool thing is action alleviates anxiety. When you are taking focused progression every day in the direction of something that feels really good for you to do, you're going to experience a more internal inner peace as you move. So understanding that really changed the game for me and brought me so much relief in this process. Some people have asked me, okay, so coming out of the integration though, how do you determine what that right one next step is to take? It can feel overwhelming, right? There can be this sense of paralysis. You have all these things on your heart that you want to do, but how do you pick the right next step? I totally understand that. As I mentioned, you can't get it wrong. No matter what step you take, you're just going to get clarity as you move. So you'll refine as you go. So don't overthink it or worry about it too much. But if you really are stuck and you're like, I can't get past this in my mind, I encourage people to just revisit that list you made of, okay, in an ideal world, what would I spend my time doing? Normally what'll happen is when we're asking that pointed question and we're looking at lists like that, your body is going to lean in. When something is really right for me, my body loves to lean in like this. And so if I'm overwhelmed, I'm not sure what to do, I let my body tell me what to do. I let my body lead the way. For a long time, my first steps were just brainstorming and researching because you don't know what you don't know. When I first started my business 5 years ago, I actually started an interior design business first. I had no idea where to start with that. Like, it felt completely over my head. And mind you, this was during 2020 at the very start of the pandemic. It was actually a very successful business, an online interior design business. Like that on its own could be a whole video. So if you want to hear that story, let me know in the comments and I will create a video for it. But basically, I just took myself to Google how to start an interior design business. And what popped up was all these different interior design events. I took myself to those events and I didn't worry about being the smartest person in the room. I worried about being the most curious person in the room to just learn from the people already in the industry doing the things that I thought I wanted to do, which then gave me my next step, which then gave me my next step, and you see how it continued on. So your first step doesn't even have to be super big. It can just be brainstorming and researching, but the confidence that comes from taking a step is irreplaceable. It's everything. So to review, accept where you are, start asking the deeper questions, reflect on what's coming up for you, get clear once you let go of all the things that no longer serve you, what are you going to decide to replace it with? What are you aiming towards now? Giving yourself integration time, allowing your new normal to come in, and taking one action step, one step at a time. If that was of value to you, I'd love to have you like this video, share it with anybody you feel could use this in their life at this time, as well as please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out and helps me continue to make content like this for free to spread the word on helping people change their lives forevermore. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.